to our important broadcast. Hello and welcome. This is Rabbi Pearl. Our subject today relates to Saturday, Shabbos, July 25th. But its message is ongoing and eternal. Judaism is replete with examples of the power of sight. And today I'm going to discuss the importance of a vision, a special vision that we receive on this Saturday, July 25th. But in reality, this is a vision that is ongoing within us. But we pause this Saturday, this Shabbos, the Shabbos that's related to Tisha B'Av, as we will explain. The power of sight, what you see. In Jewish law, there's a general rule that one who witnesses an act cannot actually be the judge regarding it. For example, if you witness a man roughly grabbing the wallet out of someone's hand and runs away, you cannot later become the judge between these two individuals in court. Now, what you may have seen looked like a robbery. Therefore, you cannot objectively hear any testimony regarding what happened, because you more or less saw what happened. You can only serve as a witness identifying the man who grabbed the wallet. Why is this? This is because once we see something, we are convinced of its reality. So much so that even testimony from several witnesses that the man was in fact only recovering a wallet that had been stolen from him moments before will not change the fact of what you saw with your own eyes, the robbery. So the power of sight is also reflected in metaphors that we use for love. We find that throughout the Torah, throughout the Bible. When an especially close, loving relationship between God and the Jewish people is discussed, it is described as God's eyes being directed towards us, or towards the land of Israel and those who live there. The metaphor is also used to describe the deepest, most intense love between two people, expressed as gazing into one's other's eyes. The ability to look into one's eyes. The power of sight is also reflected in two events which coincide with one another on this Shabbat. In the Jewish calendar, this Shabbat is known as Shabbat Chazon, a Shabbos of vision. And there are two visions. One vision of the destruction that will come to Jerusalem. We read a special reading, a Haftorah, that speaks of the upcoming destruction of Jerusalem, way back in the prophets. Yet another reason for this vision stems that on the very same Shabbos that we see a reference to the destruction, we also have been given a vision that each of us have on this Shabbos of the rebuilding of the temple, the third temple. So on this Shabbos we have both a reflection on destruction and also a vision of the ultimate rebirth and rebuilding of the third temple. Let me explain. On the 9th day of the month of Av, known as Tisha B'Av, the saddest day of the Jewish calendar, this year, because it is on a Shabbos, it's moved over, the actual fast is on Sunday. So on this Sunday, Tisha B'Av, we fast and mourn the destruction of the Holy Temple in Jerusalem. Both the first temple, that was destroyed in 423 BCE, and the second temple, that was destroyed in 69 CE, were both destroyed on this date. And on the Shabbos preceding this fast day is called Shabbos Chazon, the Shabbos of vision. For on this Shabbos we read a chapter from the prophets entitled The Vision of Isaiah. There is also a deeper significance to the name Shabbos of vision, expressed by the Hasidic master Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Berditchev with the following metaphor. Listen carefully. A father once prepared a beautiful suit of clothes for his son, but the child neglected his father's gift, and soon the suit was in tatters. It turned into shmatas. So the father gave the child a second suit of clothes. This one too was ruined by the child's carelessness. So the father made a third suit. This time, however, he withheld it from his son. He didn't give him the suit. But every once in a while, on special opportune times, he shows the suit to the child, explaining that when the child learns to appreciate and properly care for the gift, he'll give him his suit. Now this induces the child to work hard to improve his behavior until he gradually becomes second nature to him, at which time he'll now become worthy of his father's gift, that third suit. Along comes this great Rabbi Levi Yitzchok of Berditchev and tells us on this Shabbos, Shabbos Chazon, the Shabbos of vision, each and every one of us, you and me, are granted a vision of the third and final temple. A vision, to paraphrase the Talmud, though we do not see it ourselves, our souls see it. Our neshamas, our souls will see the third temple. This vision, the sight of this vision, evokes a profound response inside of us. Even if we're not consciously aware of this, but inside of us we're going to get that inspiration in this vision of the third temple. Now the Holy Temple in Jerusalem, let's understand, was the seat of how God manifested himself in this physical world. A basic tenet of our faith is that the entire world is filled with God's presence. There's no place void of God. God is everywhere. But the God's presence and involvement in this world is somewhat masked and seemingly independent and working behind the scenes, behind nature and history. So the Holy Temple, the temple that was destroyed in Jerusalem, was really a breach in that mask. What happened in the temple? This was a window through which God radiated his light into this world. Here's God's involvement in our world. At this temple was openly displayed by the many miracles and what was going on during that daily operation of the temple, whose very space expressed the infinite and all-pervasiveness of the Almighty God. So here in the temple, God showed himself to us and we presented ourselves to God. So twice we were given this gift of the temple, of this divine dwelling place in our midst in Jerusalem. Yet twice we failed to measure up to this gift and banished that divine presence from our life. The temples were destroyed. So God built us a third temple. But unlike the first two, which were humanly constructed and therefore debased by our misdeeds and destroyed, this third temple is an eternal one. It's created by God. But God has withheld this third suit of clothes, as in our example, the third temple, confining it to a reality, to a higher, a heavenly. It's in heaven, beyond our sight and the experience of ourselves. But this Saturday, each year on the Shabbos of Vision, God shows us this third temple. Our souls, our neshamas, behold a vision of a world at peace with itself and its Creator. A world filled with the knowledge and the awareness of God. A world that has realized its divine potential for goodness and perfection. It is a vision of the third temple in heaven. That's where we see it, and that's where we'll feel it inside ourselves. But this temple right now is in heaven, in its spiritual, elusive state. Like in our metaphor in the story, like the third set of clothes that the child's father has made for him, but is withholding it from him. But it's also a vision with a promise. A vision of a heavenly temple poised, ready to descend to earth. A vision that inspires us to correct our behavior and hasten the day when the spiritual vision will become a tactical reality in our lives. So through these repeated visions, living in the divine presence becomes more and more second nature to us, progressively elevating us to the state of worthiness to be able to experience the divine in our daily lives. Now let's think about this metaphor. The metaphors of our sages continue to speak to us long after their message has first been given to us. And this message has something to us today, this weekend, and ongoing. So beneath the surface of this metaphor that helps us to appreciate, there are some deeper meanings in every detail. Let's look at this. The same applies to this metaphor of Rabbi Levi Yitzchok Berditchever. Now in its basic meaning, it's clear. But there are some subtle insights behind an interesting detail. For example, we could ask, why are the three temples portrayed as examples as with three suits of clothes? Wouldn't it be a better example to say of a father who gives his son one building, a second building, and we ruin it, and he has a beautiful mansion waiting for us? We're talking about the building of the temple. Why not the example of a building or a house, which has been much more appropriate? The house and the garment, let's think about this. The house and the garment both house and envelop the person. But here's the difference. The garment does so in a much more personal and individual manner. The shirt fits us. We keep our shirt on. It's fit to size. So while it is true that dimensions and the style of a house reflect the person who lives there, right? We know different homes reflect different people, but they do so in a more generalized way, not in a specifically. You really can't tell the individual what kind of person he is by the size of his house. But if you look at the person's clothing, that's made to fit. That suits the wearer. On the other hand, the individual nature of the garment limits its function to one person's personal use. A home has an advantage over a shirt. The shirt, you only have one person in the shirt. And in a home, you can have many people. But a garment can only clothe only one. I can invite you into my home, but I cannot share my garment with you, even if I give it to you. It will not clothe you as it clothes me, because we're different sizes. For it fits only myself. So God chose to reveal His presence in a world, in a dwelling place of a communal structure, right? The temple gathered all of us, enveloped all of us, beyond our personal, to embrace an entire people, an entire community of all of us. But in truth, even though the temple was this large building, encompassing all of us, within the holy temple itself, it had certain garment-like features. It's these features that Rabbi Levi Yitzchak, the rabbi, wishes to emphasize by portraying in his story the holy temple as a suit of clothes. The holy temple itself had many compartmental rooms. There was a women's court, there was an area reserved for men, there was an area restricted just for the priests, a sanctuary area which was even more holier, there was a holies of holies, the chamber which only the high priest would only go in during on Yom Kippur. So even the temple itself was this large building. Nevertheless, it has its own specific areas. Holy, very holy, for this group, for that group. And the Talmud enumerates 8 different domains of varying sanctity within this temple complex, each with their own distinct function and purpose. In other words, although the temple expresses this single truth, all-pervasive presence God in this world, but it did so in a very individualized, personalized manner. So although it was a house in the sense that it served many individuals, nevertheless, when you got there, each and every individual who came there found, so to speak, a tailor-made garment for his or her specific spiritual needs. We all came away with what we individually need, according to our own personal and intimate relationship with God. So here goes, dear friends. Each year on the Shabbos before Tisha B'Av, all of us are shown the vision of our world as a divine home, a place where all of God's creatures will experience His presence. But this is a vision of a godly garment, a very distinctly personal relationship with God, particularly suited to our own individual characters and aspirations, that each of us will enjoy when the third temple descends onto this earth. So this individual effort, just like the clothes are made to measure, we each individually are making our individual effort, our good deeds, our mitzvahs, our learning. That all helps build the third Beis Hamikdash. We all have our clothing. We all have our specific talents and abilities. They all make a difference. So we all keep our shirt on, keep it up to size, so to speak, and all of this will help bring not only this vision within ourselves spiritually, in our soul, but also in reality in our life as well. So the Lubavitcher Rebbe emphasized that any and every individual, each of us accesses this power, this individual ability to make a change. So on this Shabbos, and throughout the year in fact, when we think of what our soul is able to see, each of our souls deep down can see the vision of this home. And when we think about it and meditate it and look into the details and why and when and the sizes and its meanings, this will fuse us with power, both spiritual and physical, to bring this into reality into our life as well. So dear friends, let's make every effort to realize how powerful each and every one of us. Each of us have our own shirts, our own garments. Those garments are made to measure. Yes, each and every one of us makes our own specific, important contribution to the rebuilding of the third temple. May Hashem bless us, the rebuilding of the third temple with the coming of Mashiach. Thank you and all the best.